and I'm here to talk to you all about Stardew Valley. I'm really excited to be here. Really excited to talk to you about this. How many people have played Stardew Valley? Amazing. How many people are Stardew Valley curious? Great. Awesome. Great. Okay. Wow. So the agenda for this is I'll talk about what Stardew Valley is for people who don't know what it is, because it's kind of fun to learn about. How it was built has a very interesting backstory about how it was built. What made it different from other games? There's a lot of things. Lessons for software development, because you are software engineers and we are talking about software. And how do you reach perfection in the game? I'll talk about that and show off my perfection save, and then I'll have some Q&A after. But you can shout out questions during if you want. Like, I want this to be a little interactive. Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm Jackie Calpristi. I love Stardew Valley. I love building software. I have over 10 years of experience building software professionally. You can find me in Slack at JackieJackie, or that's my email. I'm currently unemployed, so if you are hiring, you can chat with me about that too. Awesome. Okay, so before I get into everything, there's gonna be some spoilers in this, but not big ones. I'm not gonna tell you about any content that's been gated, but you will see end of game items in the demo. So if you really don't want to see that, don't stay for the demo where I show off my perfection save. But I won't show any gated content or any exciting spoilers. Just you'll learn about items in the game. Okay, cool. So what is Stardew Valley? Let's talk about it. So Stardew Valley is one of the most commercially successful games of all time. It's amazing. It has sold over 40 million copies, which is a lot of copies for an indie game. It was built entirely by one person, which is just wild. It's a Neighborvania game, a genre of a game. I don't really like saying it's a farming sim. I know a lot of people do call it a farming sim, but I think there's just so much more to it than farming. We think of Minecraft, there's farming in Minecraft, but we don't think of Minecraft as a farming sim. So Neighborvania I think is more accurate, and it kind of is a good indicator for other games like it. Like Harvest Moon is kind of Neighborvania, so is Terraria, I think, and so is Animal Crossing. Anyway, it's all pixel art based, so it's very, very cute, very nostalgic.
What is Neighborvania?
Great question. To me, Neighborvania encapsulates, so there's farming, there's mining, there's fishing, there's foraging, there's relationship building. It's not just farming. That's kind of how I think of Neighborvania games. They have so many different activities you can do in the game. Yeah. Good question. Okay. Oh, maybe. It might come from Castlevania. That's a good question. I don't know. It was just actually one of my favorite YouTubers who talks about Stardew Valley a lot. He calls it a Neighborvania genre, which I just thought was accurate. But yeah. Anyway, the story of the game. I think the story of the game is what gets a lot of people into it. So you inherit a farm from your grandfather. That's your grandfather. It's very exciting. You are working at this really sad job at Joja Mart, which is kind of coded as Amazon in the game. It's very sad and cubicle-y and awful. And so you decide to leave Joja Mart and move to this farm in Pelican Town. But on the outskirts of the town, there is still Joja Mart creeping, wanting to help revive the town, because when you get there, the town is really sad. It needs to be revived. So you can either try to revive the community center, which is the wholesome path of leaving Joja Mart, reviving the community center by foraging, mining, and doing a bunch of other stuff, or you can just pay for all those updates through Joja Mart. So those are your options. But most of the game, most people pick the community center route, where you farm, mine, forage, fish, combat, and relationship build your way to revive the community center, make the town happier. It's very fun, extremely, extremely fun. There's a lot more to the game than just this, but this is the main story. Okay, so that's Stardew Valley. Now you know what Stardew Valley is all about. Let's talk about how it was built. It's a really interesting story. So it was built entirely by one person named Eric Barone. He's also known as Concerned Ape online. He's from Auburn, Washington, which is really cool. He graduated from Tacoma, or UW-Tacoma, with a CS degree in 2011. And before that, his past experiences were being a pretzel maker at Auntie Anne's, and then also, he was in a rock band called 17 Colorful Feathers, which will be relevant when I go through the whole timeline. So here's the whole timeline. So Eric plays Harvest Moon a lot. He plays every single type of Harvest Moon in high school, and he joins a band called the 17 Colorful Feathers. He makes a little game for this band, he's really embarrassed about it now, but it's actually kind of cool. If you're a high schooler student and you make a little game for your band. And he really likes Harvest Moon, but the latest game everyone doesn't like. So there's that. Then he meets Amber at Auntie Anne's. He's like working as a pretzel maker at Auntie Anne's at the mall, and he meets Amber. And this is really important because Amber is probably one of the main reasons this game got built. It's because she financially supports them a lot while he's building it. He graduates from UW-Homa with a CS degree, and this is like really funny to me. He couldn't get a job because he's like so talented and skilled, and it's just funny that he couldn't get a job. So he couldn't get a job, so he starts working on Stardew Valley as like a Harvest Moon clone because he just loves Harvest Moon so much. He's really active in the community. The community is really sad because the latest Harvest Moon is bad. So that's why he starts making Stardew Valley. And he thinks it's going to take him about 6 months. He's like, this will be a really good bump to my resume. It'll look really nice. People will think I made this cool game. Spoiler alert, it doesn't take 6 months. It takes 4.5 years total to build the game from start to launch. And during this time, he's being financially supported by his girlfriend, Amber. He's working on the game like most days, like 10 to 12 hours a day. And his parents are letting them live there for free. At one point, he does get a job at like the Paramount, like being like an usher in Seattle, which is kind of cool. But yeah, like Amber's working 2 jobs as like a CNA and a barista for a while. And surprisingly, in interviews, she doesn't seem like bothered by this. She's like kind of like, yeah, whatever, I didn't mind. He was like working really hard in the game, and it seemed cool. But anyway, so he's about to launch it. He's shown like 3 Twitch streamers it before he launches it, and they seem excited about it, but he doesn't really know if it's good. Like he kind of thinks it's probably actually bad because he's so tired of playing it for 4.5 years straight, like every day for 4.5 years. So he's like worried it's gonna suck. But he gets a deal with Chucklefish, like they do like all this work with him to publish it onto Steam. And he thinks a really successful story for this would be like maybe he sells 20,000 units in the first week. So he launches it and he sells 500,000 units in the first week. Everyone loves it. It has like all this hype. Everyone's really excited about it. It has really good reviews. It's very successful for an indie game especially. And then in the first month, it sells 1 million. So it's like very, very successful. This is almost unheard of for indie games. And today, it has sold over 40 million. So yeah, it's one of the most commercially successful games of all time. Very exciting stuff.
Do you know the list price when you released it?
Yes, it's never changed. It's always been $14.99.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also very affordable. So yeah, some technologies he used to build this. Oh, go ahead. Wait, wait, what? Oh, Tickle, yes. Totally built by Tickle. No, he used C#. He used something called the Microsoft Exit-A framework, which is really interesting because this is not a game engine. Like most game engines have all these amazing libraries and all these niceties that you can have, and he didn't have any of those. Microsoft has abandoned this project. But what was cool about using this instead of a game engine was that the whole app itself was like really lightweight because it didn't have all that bloat with all the libraries, so it was a lot more performant, which is pretty cool. And he used paint.net for all of the graphics that he made by hand, which is bananas because if you see how many graphics are in the game, it's wild, like to think that he made all of them by hand. And then he used Reason for all of the music and all of the sound effects. Which there are a lot of. There's so much music in the game, and it's all so good. Oh my goodness, you have to listen to it if you haven't. And in addition to all of this, he also wrote all of the dialogue, came up with every single plot line for every character, like there's like a lot of characters. There's like 34 NPCs, I think. Anyway, it's just really impressive that he just did all of this. But yeah, that's how this game was built. Let's talk about why it was so different from other games. So how are most games built? So most AAA, AA games are built by very large teams and very massive corporations. Very much Jojo Mart vibes. They have very unclear visions because they're being directed by a lot of publishers and investors that are like, we want your creative vision to look like this. We want the design to look like this because we think it will make more money. They are very financially driven. Most of the reason that games are made by all these companies is because they want to make money. So they have a lot of incentives to add microtransactions, rush all your timelines, so you release a bunch of stuff with bugs. Also, very expensive DLCs, very expensive updates. Yeah, not great. And then also, they're focused on a lot of short-term games rather than long-term games. They don't really care if they have a captive audience that they're catering to that are really excited about the game. They just want to make money. And they often have problematic teams, as we all know. So that's kind of tragic. That's how most games are built. How is Stardew Valley different? The Harvest Moon community was huge. I think this was such an asset for Eric to have because He had this really niche captive audience that was very underserved. They all hated the newest game a lot. They all wanted a better game a lot. And so he knew all of that. Having only one person build this whole thing was really unique and interesting, and kind of also a selling point about the game. There was a really clear vision, though, because there was one person building it with that really clear vision and a very clear community to serve. And he got to engage with all those end users directly to get that clear vision, which was really nice. And he had total creative freedom because he didn't have any of those investors or publishers like breathing down his neck saying, hey, we need this new update. It needs to look like this because we need money. So that's really cool. And he wasn't financially driven. It costs only $14.99. There's free updates forever. It's really great. He said he would never charge for an update or DLC, which I love. Yeah, those are some of the things that made Stardew Valley very different. I think the other reason this game is so great and why it's done so well are there's a lot of really good mechanics in the game. So for one, there's all these like really critical limits that I think make the game more interesting than if they weren't there, because like the game loop can get repetitive without some limits and randomization. So one of the critical limits is time. Every day in the game is 15 minutes in real life. Energy, you only have so much energy to do everything in the day. If you want to clear cut a forest, you really can't because you'll run out of energy. There's store hours, so like the town feels really alive. Like every store is only open from certain hours through the day, so you feel like it's a real life, like, oh gosh, I gotta get to the grocery store and get all my seeds, or it's gonna close at 5. So those are really good limits in place. There's really good randomization. So the biggest randomization feature, I think, is seasons. You get all 4 seasons in the game, and every season has different fish, different forageables, different things you can grow, and it feels really different, like it's decorated differently, and that's really fun. And then there's luck. So every day in the game, you can turn on your TV, and there's an oracle you talk to, and she will tell you how much luck you have that day, which really affects if you're gonna go fish, or if you're gonna go forage, or if you're gonna mine, because you'll have a very different experience depending on how lucky you are. There's also events, so every season has its own type of events, much like in a regular town would have. So you have like Halloween events, you have Christmas events, and stuff like that. And there's specific items you can get at those events only. So that's really fun to look forward to. And if you don't take anything else away from this talk, get the strawberry seeds when you see them, because they are worth a lot and they do really well in spring. But there's also a traveling cart that comes by every Friday and Sunday that has random items in it, which is really helpful when you're trying to complete the community center, because there's like 5 items you need, and the traveling cart has it. You could like complete the community center a lot sooner. So go to the traveling cart for sure. But yeah, so these are like really fun things though that make the game feel really dynamic, really random, really interesting, so the game loop stays interesting. Some other things that I think they do so well in this game, or Eric does so well in this game, is the difficulty curve is super well paced. You never feel overwhelmed or like things are getting more difficult too quickly. Pricing always feels really achievable, like when you need to buy the next thing for the next goal. It's like never too out of reach or overwhelming. The pacing upgrades on barns and tools and all the other things you upgrade throughout the game are also super well paced. Crafting items is also unlocked so gradually, which also feels really unpaced. I think by the end of the game you have 150-ish different craftables you can do, but like they're exposed like incrementally, so it doesn't feel overwhelming ever, which is really nice. And then, yeah, I think the complexity of the game loop builds gradually in a way that's really effective. So when you see a final perfection build of a farm, it looks really complex and complicated and overwhelming a little bit, but when you're playing the game, it never feels that way, because it's all very gradual and well done. So yeah, balanced progression, we love it. Content and longevity. Okay, if you're a person that wants to play this game for a long time, you're in for a treat, because there's lots of endgame content. This is not just a game you can play for a few hours. I mean, you totally can do that. But if you want to play this game forever, for a very long time, you totally can do that too. Even for me, like I have a perfection build, but if I wanted to, I've done that with one farm type. So I could go in and do this again with 7 other farm types and have a totally different experience with each farm type, which is really cool. And then because you get forever updates for free, like the 1.6 update just dropped, and it was totally free, and it was huge. There was so many updates in it. It was so interesting. So yeah, lots of content and lots of longevity. And then also I think the themes of the game have a really big, wide appeal. So there's lots of values like community and kindness and generosity in the game that are really sweet and really wholesome. And then there's so much genuine originality in this game that I just don't think would happen in other games. Like there's all these like really goofy cutscenes like of like this mermaid dance and stuff, and there's like I don't know, just like things that I know that like a AAA, AA game store would be like, we don't have time for that. That's too fluffy. I don't want that weird cutscene you liked. But because he's just building this, he can totally just add it. The menus are so intuitive. I'm obsessed with the menus because okay, if you asked me to like play WoW or play like Final Fantasy 14 and you wanted me to design your HUD layout, I would have no idea what to do. I would be very overwhelmed and scared, and I would need probably a tutorial video to like figure out how to use that menu. But for Stardew Valley, like the menus are so obvious, and there's tooltips everywhere, and they're so great. And I feel like it really makes it so like even someone like me, I still kind of consider myself a non-gamer, even though I probably am after this. But like I feel like so many people can use this game and play it because it's so accessible. The menus make sense. They aren't complicated. And it's also just so nostalgic. It's like pixel art and it's like so cute. But anyway, so those are other reasons I think it's so popular. Let's talk about lessons for software development, because I swear this talk has something to do with software development. So I think the main takeaways you can take away from this game for software development are caring about your end users. So having empathy for your end users is really huge. Understanding the desires, the needs, the pain points of your end users, whether it be like Harvest Moon players that are sad about the newest game or whatever software you're building, is really important. Respecting your users' time is huge. Another thing I love about this game is like you never feel punished if you don't play the game a lot. Like you don't feel punished like, oh, I need to be playing this more. So I think that's really good when building software too. And I think this game is so generous. Like he's giving it to us for $14.99. That's so nice. There's no hidden fees. There's no like really expensive updates. You aren't surprised by like a surprise check. There's no microtransactions. Approachability, like we talked about the menus. We love the easy to navigate menus. We also love the tooltips. The tooltips are great. And progressive disclosure. I think this is really big too. So when you're building an app, gradually revealing complexity really matters, because if you get shown everything that's complex really soon, it's like so bad. Like most people don't want to use your app anymore. So yeah, those are the big takeaways. Some other big takeaways for software development is how to create inclusive, engaging design. So having a clear vision is really huge. Don't build a first-person shooter that's also Stardew Valley. Like, be okay with your game just being Stardew Valley. I think that's really, really important. Stay focused. Don't over-engineer or scope creep or stray from your product's core purpose. I think flexibility is also really important too. So one thing I love about Stardew Valley is that there's no real end goal. Like, you don't have to do anything in the game. You can literally just collect hats. Like, if you don't want to fish, you don't want to forage, you don't want to mine, you don't want to farm, you can just collect the hats in the game. And I think the same is true when we build software. It's like, do you want to just build for your power users or like build for every user? Like some people want hotkeys. That's cool. We can build to power users, but I think we should also make ways for people who don't want to do that to be successful in your app too. So yeah, collect hats. All right, lessons for engineers specifically. Don't be afraid to wear multiple hats. Meaning being well-rounded is really good. If you think you're just a back-end engineer or just a front-end engineer or just a DevOps engineer, like there can be something to be said about not thinking you're that, and being open to learning about other skills and being curious, because I think curious engineers are more effective and have a lot more things to offer. Being unemployed does not mean you're unskilled. I know there's some people unemployed. I'm also unemployed, but Eric was also unemployed, and clearly he's like very talented and very skilled. Passion projects outside of work really matter. It's so cool that he was so passionate about Harvest Moon that he innovated and made this amazing game millions of people love. Staying committed to a project can pay off even when you're doubting yourself. Like he really thought his game was going to be so bad, and it ends up being like a game like millions of people love. So yeah, being resilient, being committed to your project can really pay off. Okay, let's talk about perfection. So there's this concept of perfection in the game, and the first thing I want to say is you don't have to reach perfection at all. Only like 1.1% of players have, and Eric only did recently. So don't worry about this if you don't want to do it. I just thought it was really fun to do. So to reach perfection in the game, you have to do something called min-maxing, and min-maxing is basically when you maximize your strengths to some end, minimize your weaknesses to some end, or just kind of use your time the most effectively to reach an end goal. So that's min-maxing. How to min-max in the game to reach perfection. The first thing you need to know is that the wiki is your very, very best friend. There's so much really important information in the wiki that you have to know about to reach perfection. The highest yield profession that you should pick is artisan, for sure. And then with the artisan profession, you can take ancient fruit, starfruit, hops, turn those into wine and beer for like within your sheds. You can like make all these cake sheds. You basically need to make wall-to-wall cake sheds and then make ancient fruit, starfruit, and hops into wine and beer. There's lots of different strategies to do this, but that was my strategy. That's like the main strategy here for most people. But yeah, for the first year, you shouldn't be doing that at all because you don't even have kegs as a craftable. You should just be learning how to play the game because it's really fun and it's really interesting, and it will take a while before you have all the things you need to reach perfection anyway. And then
the first year of game time or the first
yes.
year of play time?
Yes, game time. Thank you. Good point. Good distinction. Yeah, you shouldn't be playing this. Well, I mean, you can play this for as long as you want, but yeah, in game 1 year. There's also a bunch of like perfection tracker apps and mods and things. I just used a notepad when I was tracking it because you have to track basically by season all the fish recipes and a bunch of other stuff that you need, and then you have to go and figure out how to get all that. So yeah, that's how you do it. The things you need to actually reach perfection. I know I'm like probably a little over time. Okay, so I'm not gonna go through all of these. I'm just gonna let you know this is all really, really, really hard, and it took me probably over 400 hours to do all this. And some people, they're speedrunners though, that can do this in under 24 hours, which is really impressive. There's lots of glitches and like mods you can take advantage of to like complete this quicker than 400 hours, but I didn't do that because I wanted to be wholesome and do it the right way. So yeah, but just to give you a little bit of an idea, like catching all 72 fish, there's like 8 legendary fish, and one of those fish, the only way to catch it is it has to be winter, it has to be raining, you have to go to one specific lake, you have to stand in one specific square, you better have magic bait, which is really, really hard to get, you better have a really nice lure, yeah, like you have to do all of that, and then even after that, you might not still get it. Like you could like fish and still not get the fish. And that was just like one little thing on this massive list of things. You also need at least 10 million gold to get the 1 gold clock, which seems impossible when you first start playing the game, but then you make the first 1 million, you're like, oh, okay, I can do this. Okay, cool. Let's show off my perfection builds. Okay. I'm gonna turn off, or yeah, is my volume totally off? I don't know. Okay. We love the music. It's important to hear the sound effects and the music. Okay. Jillionaire.
What's your playtime to get to this point?
400 hours. I think it's a little over that now, but I don't want to think about it. It took a while. It was so fun though. It was so worth it. Okay, this is my house. So I have 2 kids. I'm married to Abigail, but if you want to get rid of your spouse, you can go to a witch, and the witch will the witch will like erase their memory. And then if you want to get rid of your kids, the witch will also turn them into crows and get rid of them. So you can do that. So anyway, so this is my farm. We can basically call this. Yeah, the gold clock is huge, and it's also 10 million golds. It's great. But yeah, so anyway, I've set this up so I don't have to do anything. Like I have a whole sprinkler system and all these like very cute chinimos. I don't actually know how you pronounce them, but they like pick all of my crops for me. So I literally just stand around and have crops. It's great. Don't sleep on honey or flower wine. Yeah, no, flower honey. This is my flower honey formation that gives me the most yield of flower honey. I had to Google that. And then I have a bunch of fish ponds, and all these fish ponds are just kind of cute right now. I used to use them for functional things, but now they're just cute. And then I have the same thing with my tree tappers. So I've tapped a bunch of different trees, and they have like, I guess they have like maple syrup, oak resin, and then a bunch of other stuff. Anyway, so that's all of that. I have one shed specifically for dealing with smelting and other things. That was really fun to design. I've like organized everything by type of item, which was fun. And then I have all these smelters and things. This is my cute little smelter room. But for the rest of my sheds, they're all wall-to-wall kegs because that's the best way to make money. So yeah, you get a lot of wine, you get a lot of beer. This took a really long time to build, but here it is. And then I have a barn. So in this barn, I have all of my chickens, and then I think I have a couple dinosaurs and a couple other things. I have a gold chicken as well. And then in there you can make mayonnaise from all the eggs. So you can make a bunch of different types of mayonnaise. And then I've like, maybe I'll just show you. Okay. Get out of my way, you silly animals. Okay. So yeah, in here you can like make a bunch of mayonnaise from all these mayonnaise makers. And then in here, oh my goodness, little piggies. Okay. great. Mayonnaise is great. We love mayonnaise. So you can make more mayonnaise. You can make cheese with all these cheese makers from the milk that you get from the cows and the goats. You can also make truffle oil from all the truffles that the pigs find. And then, yeah, that's that. These are all my animals. They're so cute. And then, okay, so let's talk about the greenhouse. Oh my gosh. Okay, the greenhouse. So the greenhouse allows you to grow any crops that would normally grow in one season. You can grow them in any season, which is really fun. I also had to Google this formation. Like, it comes totally blank slate, so I found a bunch of trees I wanted to grow. So this gives you like every type of tree fruit you could want. But I'm also growing a lot of strawberries in here because I love strawberries. And then there's also a bunch of hops and stuff. So yeah, that is my greenhouse. And then, yeah, the rest of these sheds are just wall-to-wall kegs. So that's my whole farm. Any questions? Oh, yes. Yeah? Yeah, you only get one greenhouse in the game. It's so tragic. I could rule the world if I had more than one greenhouse. Like, I would be able to grow anything all the time. It would be great. Yeah.
Is it still a one-person team or?
Yes. I've built this by myself. But
I meant the developer.
Oh, the developer.
Stardew.
So yes, he used Chucklefish and some other help for like the multiplayer because he hated writing multiplayer, which is fair. Yeah. But I don't know if he's still using them anymore. I think they kind of like they stopped working for him once he launched multiplayer. But yeah, but I think right now though for Haunted Chocolatier he's also just doing one developer. Yeah.
Has he shown interest in another title, like creating another game?
Yeah. So his second game that he's working on is called The Haunted Chocolatier. I think he's still a little bit attached to Stardew Valley. Like he keeps releasing updates for it, like the 1.6 update, which I think is like stalling his progress on The Haunted Chocolatier. But there is a preview for it that's really cool. There's a trailer. Yeah, it looks really good. I want to play it, obviously. But I think it'll probably take like 6 years, so we'll see. Yeah. Right. Oh my gosh, that's a great question. So we could go to the wiki. I could show you. I would have to look at the wiki. But there's like a bunch of farm types. Like some of them are just like have a bunch of little islands everywhere. Some of them have monsters come onto your farm at night, which I thought sounded scary but interesting. And then yeah, some of them are just different. Some of them you can like grow bluegrass, and you have blue chickens, and there's like whole bluegrass. Like I don't even know about it, but that's a thing. And then yeah, there's a bunch. It's really interesting. I'm gonna check them out probably like after this, but. Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, yeah.
How did you find out about it?
Stardew Valley?
Yeah.
This is so funny. So I was at a party and this girl talked about this game for probably like 20 minutes to the point where I was like, is she okay? Like this is like a long time. Like she's like really hyped. Yeah. She's like so hyped about this game. I was like, this is kind of like a lot. Like I don't know. But I was like, fine, I'll check it out. Like I get it. Like you really like it. I checked it out and I like addicted. Like so obsessed. Like I would totally talk to someone about this for 20 minutes at a party. Anyway, yeah, that's how I found out. Okay.
Now that you've reached your perfect build, do you still work on it?
Yeah.
A bit more?
I'm trying to collect all the hats.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I guess I didn't show you the actual menu of everything I've collected. This is kind of fun. So this is me getting every single item shipped, every single fish caught, every single ancient artifact caught, every mineral. Every recipe was so hard. Oh my god. Okay, so I got all that. All the achievements in the game, every single letter in the game. And then, yeah, all these things. You have to heart everyone 100% in the game. So I also had to learn everyone's like favorite gifts and stuff. That took forever. Yeah, it was really fun though. I would do it again. I'm basically trying to do it again. I got to like level 10 and all these things. Yeah, anyway. Any other questions?
Have you considered making a game?
I have considered making a game. I got so excited about this. I did start making a mobile game because I just thought it was so fun.
Have you only ever dated Abigail, or have you ever dated any of the other characters?
That's a good question. I've only ever dated Abigail. I kind of think all the other characters are a little trash. To date. I mean, no offense. I know people have lots of feelings about this, but like, okay, I can go through it if we want to. I won't.
What's
But
wrong with Harvey? Okay.
Harvey, I have so many thoughts on Harvey, okay? He only wants healthy gifts, that's a problem. He's always complaining that no one's sick enough to go to his clinic, so his clinic's not making enough money. I'm like, he's just greedy and sad, I'm sorry. But like, he's cute. Harvey's cute. We like Harvey, but not to date. Okay. Oh, yes.
What does multiplayer look like in this? Is it kind of just visiting, or what does that look like?
That is a great question. I actually haven't played multiplayer, but I think it's like literally the same game, but you have two people that can play at the same time, which is cool. Yeah.
I've played multiplayer, and there's different setups where you can have different farm plots arranged differently, where you can have houses right next to each other or houses like on separate corners of this big lot. But there's different arrangements you can choose from. But yeah, you're on the same piece of land working together.
Awesome. That is so cool. I should try that too. Yeah, this game has a lot of longevity, a lot of content. Yeah. Ooh.
Does it make you want to be a farmer in real life?
You know what's so funny is like the irony of this game is like I'm totally treating it like in a type A, like get perfection way, but it's really supposed to be about like a slow life on the farm. Like, which is like funny that you can play it either way. A little bit, like a little bit, yeah. I think it could be fun to farm, but
Yeah, do you find cross inspiration between playing the game and then doing engineering work?
yes. Yes, absolutely. No, I think that's why it's so fun. Is it's all just problem solving and learning. Like you have to learn so much stuff to like make every recipe, to get every fish, to like do all the things. And also like I basically have a queue worker system here, right? Like I have like a farm and like I have all my workers and I got my queue. Like it's so similar to software engineering in so many ways. I love it. Yeah. Sweet. Any other questions? Cool. Well, thank you guys. This was so fun. Oh my gosh.